Hello. Okay, so where we left off last time, I kind of ruined some stuff, had everything tagged, welder was out of gas, yada yada. So I got everything welded, I got the flanges on, I have some of it heat wrapped. It's pretty sweet. Let me, give me 2 seconds, I'm gonna get a light so you can see it better. Okay, so there, can you see me now? Okay, now I'm going to show you. That was pointless. So this is what we have going on. So these are tacked in place. Since these are so stinking thick, I have to heat these up like crazy before I weld them, because our welder is not meant to do anything close to that. So to get the welds to penetrate, I need to get these as hot as I can and then weld them. So they're just tacked kind of around. Let's see, I can show you how these are gonna sit, like such. So this one's really, that must have gotten hot. I don't know. Nice thing is if both these turbos are bad, I'll just go get some more. So yeah, that's how they're gonna sit. And I think I got the pipes pretty symmetrical, and I think I got the flanges pretty close. What kind of throws it off is the turbo sticks this way, or the cold side sticks out that way, the hot side sticks this way, and it's the opposite on this side, so that kind of throws it off. But I think where these, I don't know, that would have thrown everything off, huh? The flanges are symmetrical. I now realize that the turbos are not going to be perfect, but they're, with my mind, there's no way to foresee that. So this is what we're stuck with. So down pipe, they're going to meet right here in the middle, and then go down. I'm going to try and use the factory exhaust holes, I guess you'd call those. So yeah, that's where we're at. So I have a sandwich plate on the way, and what that is pretty much a plate that you screw into the oil filter threads housing. And then it has 2 or 3 different ports for oil feed lines, and then you put the oil filter onto that. So that's on the way. 2 oil lines are on the way. So I just need to find a set of down pipes. Please let me know what you think about the WX scoop on top of the Bug. We're trying to brainstorm ways to, I don't want to do a water to air intercooler, so we're trying to brainstorm ways to get some airflow to a normal intercooler. So that's where we're at right now. Update you in a minute. Okay, so the next, at least what I'm going to do next, I don't know what the next step would be. What I'm going to do next is support the turbos. Sandwich plate got in, so I'll go over that. I've never done a sandwich plate before. I usually run lines off the oil pressure sensor, but that's going to be easier. It's already got 2. Okay, so normally for a turbo manifold, the piping is significantly thicker than what I use, so it's strong. Since we use junkyard stock exhaust piping, it's not very thick, so it's not very strong. So if you look, I mean, if I just go like that, I mean, the wiggle room, or the amount of wiggling that it does, is really bad. So I need to, and those turbos are about 20 pounds a piece. So the plan is I'm gonna run something like this steel bar. I'm gonna run something like that from either the turbos or the flanges down to this motor mount, because this flexes here, or it pivots here, but then that flexes with the motor, so the motion will be the same as the exhaust, blah blah blah. I will not be able to weld, I can't weld onto the turbo or that mount, because when I go to remove the manifold, that will inhibit it from leaving. So I have to weld nuts onto the motor mount, and then weld like washers or something on the end of that rod, That way I can remove the mounts. But so I'm gonna try and do that, and then probably an exhaust hanger would be a pretty fantastic idea. I fitted a 2.5 RS hood scoop. Not fitted, I set a 2.5 RS hood scoop on top. It's about 2 inches smaller or shorter than the WRX one. So it'd be a lot more subtle, so we're gonna probably try and find one of those and then mess with ducting air for the intercooler. I kind of like the idea of putting it on the side of the Bug, but on that side, because the like right where that brown patch with the holes is, because then the intercooler is going to sit right on the side of the distributor. So that would be a good access point for air to flow right to it, and we won't have to have some long ducting. So we'll get to that. So I'm gonna do what I just told you, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, so I've wasted a lot of time on what I thought was gonna work. So I made all these supports. That one, and then one more on the backside going down the transmission. So what I did is I just took, I don't know what that is, like 1/4 inch tubing pipe, just a solid rod, 1/4 inch of like solid metal, and then welded washers on the end of it. And it took way longer than it should have just to get like the washers to line up with the spots, and then I welded nuts onto the motor mount and all kinds of stuff, and it still moves more than it should. I mean, you gotta push pretty good, but it's still, before you could just tap it and it would jiggle, and now that's gone. But I mean, if you put some weight on it, especially this side is really bad, that really moves. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just get some flat stock. So I got this stuff, which is 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch thick, and I bent up that thing and it wiggled like crazy. So Dennis told me, he pointed some stuff out, said to go get the 1/4 inch thick stuff, which is that, which is crazy thick. So I had to bend that and drill holes through it, which is gonna suck, but I should only have to do one of those supports per turbo, because that stuff's not gonna move. The flaw with that was the washers are so thin that they are actually what has the play in it. So wasted a lot of time with that. This should finish it, so I'm gonna do that. I'll walk you through that a little bit more, because one of them is gonna be, I'm gonna like triangulate it and get kind of fancy. Went to the junkyard again. We got 2 side mount Volkswagen intercoolers. I don't know if we're using both or not. We got little blinkers for the Baja fenders. Got this steering wheel off of a Bug, because mine is huge and it's covered in dirt poop. We got one downpipe. So apparently these downpipes are not common at all. People want them, junkyards take them, blah blah blah. So I got this downpipe. What most junkyards do is they cut it here, and then after the cat, which is like over here, these guys actually left it on and cut there. So I need one more of these. What else did we get? I thought we got more at the junkyard. I think that's it for now. So I'm gonna make those supports, and then once that's done, I can take the whole manifold off, weld the flanges. Oh yeah, we got this little coupler. It's a 2-to-1 off of a 2.7 twin turbo Audi. Apparently those just blow open after like 15 pounds. So I'm not gonna run 15 pounds, but they make silicone aftermarket ones, so I'll probably end up just buying one of those. I think that's all we got at the junkyard since the last time I talked to you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna do those and we'll see how they turn out. Be amazed at how long it takes to heat up 1/4 inch metal. That's not even that thick. It takes a long time. So I got lazy and it's just sitting there cooking. Ridiculous. So I've made this, it's still hot. I made this little bracket, and it doesn't look the prettiest. There's a couple, geez, it's hot. Where'd they go? There's a couple spots where I did a decent weld. But yeah, so I figured this would be a good time to show you guys how these supports are going to work based on them being tied to the engine. So that bracket is going to go right there and right there, but I'm going to show you, since this bolt is off, when I move this, hang on, when I move that, see how the exhaust moves with it? Bah. You see that? Sorry, it's kind of hard to... So that's the point of the brackets being tied to the motor, because if they were tied to something solid, when the motor moved like that, parts of this exhaust are going to have tension and they'll probably break. So this piece I will put on real quick and show you how it sits, and we'll see how strong it is. Okay, so the bracket's on. Now before I had any support, the turbo or the up pipes, whatever, the exhaust would jiggle and literally move up and down probably close to an inch. Like, it was very, very weak. And the turbos, I've said this 100 times, they're about 20 pounds, and then the downpipes and then the rest of the exhaust and then wastegates, like there's, you know, they're going to be supporting probably about another 50 pounds. So I needed there to be almost no play at all. And we're pretty close. So that's how that bracket sits. And let's see if I can show you this. So now there's, I mean, pretty much zero. This one still has a little bit. One, there's not a bolt on it, and this one is triangulated, so there's a lot more strength there. This one is not, so I'm going to see if I could weld something maybe along there, and then same thing on the bends, and see if that strengthens it, because that one's got a little bit of wiggle. This one is like solid. So those are done. I don't know what's next. I don't know. Okay, so this is what you just saw me tack right there. So this is going to be the other bracket. Instead of welding supports on the angles, I figured triangulate it like the other one. So this is kind of a cool trick. You cut the metal down to almost nothing, and then you can bend it. Instead of with this one, I heated it forever and smashed it with a hammer, and that was a giant pain in the butt, and that's really easy. So now I'm going to weld that back together, and then I'm going to cut a little piece to fit in there to fill the gap, make it stronger, weld all that up, and then the support should be good. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll see what's next. Alright, so supports are done. They're not pretty. I tried to make them pretty and they didn't work, so this is functional. Luckily, I might have already said this, downpipes are going to be right here. You're going to have to stick your head over the turbos to see that, and most of this is going to be covered by this downpipe. So, but they, this is hard to show you because as I try to move this, I move the camera, but there's very, very little play. I gotta push on that pretty dang hard. Same with this side. That one's got a little bit, but there's not much more for me to mount to, so that's gonna I think that's good. So now the next step is to take all this off, take the manifold off, and I did not weld under here. These are just tacked on there. So I'm going to take everything off and finish welding it, and then I'm going to start, I think the next step would be to run oil lines. So I got all the fittings for the turbo. I'm still waiting on one downpipe, but I have all the oil lines, all the fittings. So I'm going to start mocking all that up. I need to drop the pan and drill and tap for the return lines, and I don't know, I'm gonna do that. And then I'm so bad at like telling you guys the next step because I keep saying, oh, okay, so I'm gonna do that. That's what's going on now. I'll work on that. Okay, so I have everything off except one, and it's hiding right there. I'm filming this because there's a good chance I'm gonna get oil in my face. So, just in case, you're gonna see it. It's also a good thing I'm taking this off because all these bolts were not tight. So, luckily I haven't really driven this much. I've really only just started it, but okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Looks pretty clean. I don't know what I'm looking at, but it looks good to me. Okay, now we're gonna drill holes in it. Okay, so I got the pan off. I have 2 holes drilled. I was kind of limited on where I could put them because the axle actually is pretty close to where I wanted to route these. And then there are baffles in the oil pan, so I was kind of limited on this little area. So I'm gonna see what it does. I'd like to put them up higher so it can drain better. They might be high enough, I don't really know, but for now it's what we're gonna roll with. So I was originally going to put them about here just because I could get a little higher up, but this baffle is right there and I didn't want to drill into that, and Dennis told me not to. I'm not sure the science behind it, but so this is what I got, and then the hole's big enough to where that just threads in kind of sort of, and I'm going to weld around it. They are big and fat because the return for the turbos that came off it are big and fat. So they're about the same size. I don't know. I've repeated this several times, guys. I'm not an expert. I don't know what I'm doing. All of this is trial and error. None of this should be taken as, oh, well, you did it, so I'm gonna. No, don't do that. Research it. I'm just doing it. So I'm gonna weld these now. We're gonna see what happens. Okay, so I got those welded on, and then I cut the threads off, the remaining threads on the other end, and then welded it a little bit more on the inside just to make sure. So now I get to put everything on. I got these at the junkyard. They're heater core lines, so they should be fine for the oil. So I got 2 of them. They're not pretty, but those will be temporary just to start it. So now we can put everything back together and start it. We're at that point now, so I'm gonna do that. The other downpipe is on its way. It is being shipped, so I should be able to get all the lines ran, everything ready to go, and then for the time being, just to start it, I'm just gonna bolt both downpipes on, start it, see how it sounds. Then we'll work on combining the 2 downpipes into one and then splitting it and running it nicely. So cool, I'm gonna get going on all that. Okie dokie. So I got the sandwich plate on there. As you can see, you got 2 oil lines. The oil filter will thread onto that. Oh, we'll thread onto that. Oil lines, ta-da, kapow. And then these turbos, so on the Saab, the turbo sat like such, which means the drain, the oil drain is there, which is the opposite of how I need it to be when it sits like that. So I'm going to loosen this V-band and then clock the turbos the way I need them to be. And then we got to weld the wastegates shut. Got these new oiled feed fittings. Yeah. Also, my memory card on this camera is full, which means I have a lot of content that you just watched, so I'm going to call this video here. The next video for the Bug is going to be soon to follow. The only thing, next video, 1000% I'm starting it. The pan's tapped. I have everything I need. Other waste or other downpipes on the way. So the only thing I need are wastegates, but I am 1000% going to put everything on and start it without wastegates. With that being said, I might wait on welding those wastegates shut, so then I can actually go drive it if we don't have the wastegates here yet. But thanks for watching the video. Sorry, this one was just a lot of fabrication. There was a lot of me welding crap together. We're making progress though. We're really close. So next video, turbos are on. Everything's going to be on. We're going to drive it. So thanks for watching. Keep a close eye out because I have momentum. So in the next couple days, that downpipe should be here by Friday. Today is Tuesday. You'll probably be watching this tonight or Wednesday. As soon as that downpipe's here, everything's going to get rolling. So thanks again for watching. I'm excited. We're close. We'll see you guys next time.